Hello again, my name is Caitlin Ramsbeck, and I will just be giving you a short presentation on the progress that I've achieved with my Taiwan research project. Real quick, in the time that I haven't been working, I've been able to go to the National Palace Museum. You can see the picture of me on the top left in front of the museum. We got to go to a cool small town called Inga, which is a pottery town. And in the lower left is one of the shops. They had lots of pottery for really cheap that I was able to buy some of them. And then I was lucky enough to get to go to an opera, and this is just a picture of me with with one of the outfits on, and a picture with some of the performers there. So back to the study. A quick recap about this study. My study is looking at trying to identify negative impacts of conventional agriculture, specifically in tea plantations, negative impacts that the conventional methods have on soil properties, as well as the density and diversity of soil invertebrates, as well as ground-dwelling organisms and organisms that have important impacts on the soil. I'll also be looking at the amount of pests in the organic versus the conventional tea plantations. And to do this, I have 3 different tests. I do biological, I've got the pitfall trap, which I'm looking at ground-dwelling organisms and soil organisms, and then sticky pad traps, which looks at the pest, the amount of pests in the organic and conventional soils, or the tea plantations. Then I'm also looking at the physical properties consisting of bulk density and soil moisture. That is the tool that I use. And again, bulk density looks at how compact the soil is, and then soil moisture is the water obtaining ability. And then again, I'm looking at chemical properties such as pH, and I have a coworker who will be looking at the 3 vital nutrients for plant growth, which are carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus. So as far as the update right now, for the pitfall traps, there was 30 samples of pitfall traps, and all of them have been collected. So right now, those are sitting in the office that I'm working in, and to go through them, I use a dissecting microscope, as you can see in the bottom left picture. I take each container and I use a pipette to suck up the liquid out of the container and put it onto this plate that holds the liquid. And then I look for insects, and each insect that I see, I identify, I suck up with the pipette, and I transfer into a different holding container where all the identified insects go into. And then I use this chart that I made that you can see in the upper left, where I write down the order of the insect and then how many, and then any notes that I find significant. So that's allowing me to keep up with how many insects I count. And then as far as the sticky pad traps, the pitfall and the sticky pad traps were both set out for 4 days. When I collected these sticky pad traps, I took saran wrap and wrapped the traps with the saran wrap, and this allows me to stack them without the insects coming off or transferring to another trap or anything like that. And then once I brought them back to the station, I took pictures of all of the traps front and back. I held up a piece of paper with what trap it was, so the number that I labeled each of them. That way I'm able to look and identify what trap sample it was. The sticky pad traps are all currently being refrigerated, and this is just to slow down the process of insect decomposition. Issues with the sticky pad traps, because that's a big one that we're having issues with is some of the insects, if you can see, are so small that it's definitely hard to identify them by looking at the picture, but it's even difficult to identify them having the trap in front of you. So there are some entomologists at the station that are willing to help out for some of these smaller ones. And then the pitfall traps have all been pretty good so far. As far as soil analysis, on the left is the soil samples that are being dried in a drying oven for the bulk density, and the soil samples to the right are for the different chemical analysis tests that will be used later on, such as pH. Issues with soil analysis would just be that because it had been raining so much, that it will most likely affect the results of the soil moisture and potentially the results of the bulk density. But other than that, everything has been running pretty smoothly. So that's about it that I have for you. Thanks for listening.